Hi, my name's Sava, but my alter ego is the Impaired Grappler. Welcome to my podcast. This podcast is basically just sharing my story. I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner who's been impaired with arthritis for the last 7 or so years. So I basically currently do jiu-jitsu one-handed, just to protect my hand and wrist from undue knocks and sores. Basically, this podcast is just sharing what I do and having interesting conversations with people that I've met, that I know. Like today's episode is Professor Steve Maxwell, who's a world-renowned expert in the fitness industry. He is a big-time advocate of self-defense, Gracie Jiu-jitsu. I was a client of his for about a year, just helping me try to do a rehab for my arm. So basically this conversation was early this year, and he was a very, very gracious guest, sort of picking up where I was stumbling through my words. So very appreciative of that. And so here's the podcast. Hope you enjoy, and make sure you follow Steve on all his social media and also his website. He's in Ikaria, Greece at the moment, so I think he'll be having a great old time right now. So enjoy the podcast, and we'll catch you on the other side. All right, cheers. Oos. All right. This is going to be I'm a bit nervous about it, so it's the first time I've done it, so we'll just see how we go.
Let's just go,
conversations.
Let's just flow. Let's go with the flow. You know, the really experienced podcasters, they don't even write the you just...
Well, it's more of concepts I want to
But if you have some notes, by all means, do it. But I'm just saying, you get to the point where it actually goes better when you just let it happen, whatever happens. Yeah, because I write a whole heap of questions, but I really just want to get into maybe 3 concepts, and we can take it from there. So, pretty much this is my first time. So anyway, we'll just have this as the start. We don't have to. Are we on camera right now? Yeah, I'll put an intro. That's recording, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll put an intro on and all that. So basically. By the way, I'm happy to be your first one, man. Thanks for coming. Honored to be the subject of your first podcast. Yeah, that's right. You've been like a mentor and inspiration and a friend to me. When I was a client of yours, and due to my impairment, it's just you helped inspire me, and it's just like having clarity in my life as well as all the health benefits. So it's been pretty good. Cool, man. So I just wanted to touch on concept of teaching and learning, because I've been fascinated with that lately. You've done teaching from, I think, kinder, or you've done public school teaching? I did. I was a health and physical education major in university. Yeah. I knew I wanted to be a PE teacher from the time I was 12 years old. Okay. Because the people that I admired most were my physical education teachers and my coaches. So I decided early on. And I started teaching 1974 in the public school system. But before that, I had 2 years as a student teaching, both in elementary school and then later in junior high. And then I actually taught in a public school for a couple of years. Okay. And even before that, I kind of got into the... I had a part-time job in the gym business as I was working my way through school. So I already knew I liked working with adults, and the fitness industry was just in its infancy. It didn't even exist. Certainly not like now. Yeah, no worries. I'll just make sure everything's recorded. 1, 3, so basically you've travelled the world learning from masters in all forms of just different fields, martial arts, yoga, spirituality, whatever Well, I always had a lot of varied interest. And I always made it my mission to go seek out those people that rang true. You know, when the student's ready, the teacher will come, as they say.
Yeah.
And so I always had this little saying that, I attract people to me that need me most, and the people I need most, I attract them.
Yeah.
And so, people that I need to learn from or life lessons, I've been very lucky that way.
Have you found from, like, just, I guess, different experts and masters in different fields that they have something in common, like in their demeanor or the way they approach learning or doing things?
I never thought about that, the commonality, because a lot of the things I've studied is very diverse, very different. I suppose...
what about the breath work that you're some similarities?
Yeah, I mean, people have different teaching styles. Some of the people I actually worked with were really high level, but not such great teachers.
Okay.
And then there were some people that were maybe not the highest level, but were fantastic teachers.
Yeah, that's right.
And a lot of it has to do with patience. Some people in the field of fitness or sports, they're amazing themselves, but they don't know what it's like to not be amazing. So they have trouble relating to people that are not high level. Well, and a lot of times they have bad, poor patience, and they get snappish or, lose their temper, or they just can't relate. They're unable to break down what they do to teach to somebody else. And it's a rare teacher to find someone that can.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like the Gracies, because they've been born into the situation. They just do it naturally and can't understand. Hey, just move your body like that. I can't. What do you mean you can't?
Well,
that's the rumor. No, not all Gracies, just sort of.
Horian Gracie is one of the best teachers I ever had of any domain. He could take your mother and basically teach her how to stand up and base and do the Upa escape. I kid you not.
Yeah.
He's a master teacher. His father was a master teacher. I thought all of Elio's sons were pretty doggone good, but there's anyone that's ever had a lesson with Horian, absolutely.
Well, hopefully I get to one day.
The finest, man. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's. I just had a recent lesson going over the most basic of basic things, and still learning little details here and there.
Well, their sons are monsters, so you can imagine how good he is.
Well, the grandsons.
Yeah.
Right. They're Horian's boys. Hiron, Henner, Halleck. There's another one, Halen. I'm not sure what Halen's doing.
Okay, cool. So there's you look around the world today, and there's obesity epidemics and diabetes and all those health issues. With regards to physical education, what we're teaching in schools, because back in the day, I think from the 60s or earlier, there wasn't obesity problems, epidemic. It was like a rich person's curse, because only rich people could afford sugar. Therefore, they're the ones that got fat. But I'm just wondering, with regard, have we lost something in the way we teach our kids and ourselves, like in the education system with regards to health?
Well, part of it is, in modern society, there's no need to be really all that physically active anymore. With the invention of the microchip, where every technology became so small, all of a sudden people can basically sit in one spot and make a living. I myself, here's my iPad. I basically make money on the internet, sitting with my little iPad on my lap, and I could easily become one of those guys, if I didn't know better. But, from early on, I got in the habit of moving my body and training. And as an athlete, of course, I was always interested in being in good physical condition. So this was something that was impressed. I wouldn't say impressed on me, because it certainly wasn't a natural, This is something that I took to and made a discipline for myself. But there's a lot of kids that grow up who have sedentary parents, and they themselves are sedentary. So that's That's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is food has never been so plentiful. I mean, you have a huge, plentiful food supply. You go to a supermarket in America, and it's just dizzying, the array of foods. You go to, let's say, a third world country, or even maybe a second world country, like modern, but you go to a grocery store, there's a very limited selection. You just don't have that overabundance of food, So you have now a plentiful food supply, and a lot of the food is denatured in that the people that sell food want to make it last as long as possible so it can stay on the shelf so they can maximize their profits. So now you have this unnatural, denatured food, relatively high in calories, and taste delicious. They're really good at making things taste good, and sedentary lifestyle. And it's a bad formula, man. Bad formula. And this is what people have been facing for the last 30 years. It's the first time in human evolution that we've ever been in a situation like this.
Well, yeah. Well, that's sort of why one of the messages I want to send out there, bring across, is stagnation leads to suffering. That's like a motto that I'm putting out there. Because like with myself, with my issues with my arm, I've found that the more, like if I was to sit on the couch, the more I sit on the couch and don't move, the more painful it is and the worse it is overall. But if I do jiu-jitsu as much as I can, or keep moving, do just general movement, mobility drills, I feel much better. Yeah, it still feels bad in cold.
And perhaps you should explain to your listeners about your arm, since this is your first podcast. Yeah. They might not even be aware of the issue that you had with it.
Well, basically, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I had in the elbow for about 7 or 8 years. In the last couple of years, it came into the wrist, and the right knee. So mainly on the right side of my body. When the wrist was first inflamed, it was pretty like I couldn't move it.
I remember
at all like that. It was just like a big thing, and like the elbow had a lot of inflammation. So that's gotten much better, and the arm's gotten much stronger. But it's a slow process. It's not, it's been there for 8 years. It's not going to go away in 1 year. It's like but the idea is to work one day at a time, step forward, just as long as you're moving towards a goal of cure, But in the meantime...
Do you remember what set that off, by the way? What was the original injury, or was it just a gradual...
It was a gradual thing. Look, I first heard it doing that kind of action at work, but that was more of a strained overuse. Yeah. But it's not like I was doing that for years. I was only for a couple of weeks worth, and then it was a bit sore, so rested, and then it came back again, and then I was on top of it with the medical profession from day one. It's like I went to the doctor, went to the...
Which is probably your first mistake.
Well, yeah, it's like I just want to try to do the right thing. It's like, okay, I'm not be scared of going to the doctor. It's like, look, doc, I've got this issue. Can we get it checked? I'd love to be able to just give the hospital a couple of $1,000 and say, can you just find out what's wrong with me and don't let me go until, And it's like, there's no way to do that. In the meantime, I've spent how many thousands of dollars over the years trying to go to this specialist and that specialist, and and when one of them tells you, oh, diet has absolutely nothing to do with, it's like, how am I going to believe what you say? You want to give me drugs, you want to for me to inject myself every day or every week with this medication, but you have no...
absolutely no solution.
No solution for the fuel I'm putting in my body. It's like, how can there be absolutely no impact? So,
there's absolutely a correlation between Dr. Tilden, the fellow that I followed the Tilden diet pretty much. He knew almost more than a half century ago, just how diet is absolutely related to all sorts of ailments. And he treated people with diet and fasting very successfully. And there's no doubt at all. The modern medical people can only give you drugs, mask the pain, but they never get to the real causation because they don't even know what causes it. They really, truly don't know what causes it. So, they can give you surgery or drugs, but, dude, I haven't been to a doctor in like 35 years, man.
Okay. So, so on that topic, like what are the biggest misconceptions out there that like bug you the most in terms of, this is a healthy thing, but it's not actually shown to be healthy at all, but it's like, like bro science, filtering out bro science from the real stuff and the corporate, backing the sugar industry, backing research and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, there's so many, man. I could go around, but I'm pretty, as you can tell, I'm not a keen fan of modern medicine. It's all based on pseudoscience. They talk about double-blind studies and this and that, but we all know that, you can't have a result outside of your own consciousness. And they're already looking for a particular result in all these so-called experiments. Look at the wonder drugs of today, how they become demonized just like 10 years down the road. Ask any thalidomide baby.
Yeah.
And that was like FDA approved and everything. So, I mean, you can't trust it because they went the drug route, which is all about pharmaceuticals. And I'm with Dr. Tilden, I eschew all that. Yeah. I think your body's capable of healing itself from anything. So that would be one thing that bugs me. This overly dependent on doctors, doctor, and the overuse of drugs, especially antibiotics.
But would it be more the trust of the doctor as well?
Well, you have to be confident in your treatment. But for the most part, I have no confidence myself. So, I would do what people have done for ages and go back and just simply fast and allow my body to heal itself. Other things that bug me, I hate some of these fitness fads. The whole CrossFit fad really bugs me. I see that as very destructive. Certainly not a sustainable model. There's this concept with young people in their minds. They think, well, I'm young and I'll play really hard, and if I get hurt, well, maybe I'll do something else. They don't realize that a lot of this damage they're doing is permanent, and all the micro trauma that they're creating in their body with some of this crazy stuff, it stays with you.
It's
man.
long lasting,
and it can literally make it your latter half of your life really miserable. It is but there's this idea amongst younger people that they can just do anything and they'll be fine. I did it.
Yeah.
And I am suffering. So, take a word from the wise. Yeah. Take a guy that's been through to the other side. And, who are the people you listen to, Are you going to listen to like a 20 or 30 or even a 40-year-old something? Until you're well past 50 years old, you have no clue about what's going on. Ask anybody. Experience will trump any of these ideas or theories or any of this kind of stuff. So most of my mentors were all older guys that made it through the other side. If some guy's espousing a health system, I want to see what the guy looks like. Did he make it? Did he make it to the other side in good shape? So most of the guys that I listen to are in the 80s, 90s, even a couple centenarians, 100-year-old guys. I figure they know what's going on. They're the proof of the pudding,
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's why you go to Ikaria.
I mean, you could say, if you're just looking to one guru, maybe the guy had great genetics and a little luck on this side. But I have like at least a dozen guys that have gone into old age in spectacular shape. And what I do is I look at all the commonalities of what they're talking about, and I've kind of put that together in my own program.
Your own system, yeah. Well, I think that's a good way to learn. Like I said, I'm fascinated with learning how to learn. So listen to Tim Ferriss and people like that, and like through your guidance, and like even with Pedro Sauer, spending a lot of time with him. It's pretty good. So in terms the Helio Gracie Jiu-jitsu is starting to make the self-defense Jiu-jitsu is making a comeback in the Jiu-jitsu community. So you got places like Valenti Brothers, Luis Herrera in Maui. You got the Pedro Sauer Association, the Hoist Gracie Network, Hickson and Cron, and then they're all teaching the self-defense, and there's...
And the man that gave me my black belt, Helson Gracie, has pretty outstanding self-defense.
Yeah, so all these people and yourself.
Yeah, the sons of Elliot Gracie and the people that belted directly underneath those guys really know that self-defense system, and it's a good one. It's a good one. Everyone seems to think, speaking of misconceptions that bug me a bit, okay, if you're big, strong, and athletic, you're not going to have any problem in any kind of self-defense situation. Even sports jiu-jitsu, if you're on the, if you're winning tournaments, obviously you're a really athletically gifted person. You're not going to have too much of a problem. I mean, obviously bigger, stronger. Some giant guy could give you a tough time, but I mean, for the most part, I'm not talking about the guys like that. I'm talking about like regular people. Regular people like yourself, right? Even myself, rather average genetics. I was not athletically gifted. I worked hard. I had some good accomplishments in both wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but it wasn't because I was some phenom or some whiz. I struggled and had to work really, really hard. How about those guys? There's this idea that you can stand and punch with people like Muay Thai. Man, try doing that with some guy like the size of some of these rugby players running around here. Unbelievable. You get pounded in the next week.
Yeah, you get your sprint game on.
If you try to stand there and duke it out with some guy that's bigger, faster, stronger, younger, man, you have no chance. No. And you're going to get hurt. But jiu-jitsu would give you a chance because you're not trying to strike with a guy. You're just basically trying to survive. It's about survival so you don't get hurt. And most people don't know that system. So they've been misled by mixed martial arts, thinking that stand-up self-defense is kickboxing, right? When you clinch, it's wrestling, and then when you get on the ground, it's jiu-jitsu. Well, that's good for the sport of MMA, where you're wearing gloves, and you have time limits and all this kind of stuff. But in a street-type situation, you need something more, and you need survival tactics and techniques. And Grandmaster Elliot Gracie, who was a very small little guy, he knew that. He learned that directly from the Japanese.
Well, the connection that I learned, like I'd heard this lesson a million times about use your feet to defend, blah, blah. But there was one lesson under mount, how to defend. And then one day, I went from being a victim to, it just clicked. And it's like, oh my God, this is so powerful. And so from that day, if it wasn't for that lesson, I wouldn't be able to stay on the mat, because like if I didn't get that concept of how to use a frame to stay safe, there's no way I would have stayed. This was 4 or 5 years ago.
It's funny sometimes certain lessons will just like bing, big light bulb,
and then all of a sudden all this knowledge that you had no idea just comes in and fits together, and it's like, oh wow, I don't need to learn 20 different techniques in a position. I just need to know the concept of this. Okay.
Concept.
And like if he's doing that, I do it. If he does that, I do this and that. Like like Helson said, like you've said before. But
the principles of principle-based martial art, because every time you escape from the mount, it's going to be a little bit different. Every guy, I mean, it's never going to be exactly the same. But when you understand the principles, then you put together, the escape from any number of positions. It's kind of like that with the self-defense. There are techniques that you learn, but those techniques are never going to work exactly like you practice. No. They're always going to be a little different. But the fact that you've done them over and over and over, and the fact that in a sport like jiu-jitsu, you are rolling live, full effort with each other. That's different than a lot of martial arts where you pull the punches or you're not going full contact, Yes. And so because you are going against live resisting opponents, you learn to flow. So that even if you are performing, let's say, a technique that you will learn, but the guy does something unexpected, you're used to flowing with it, man. And hopefully without thinking too much.
Yeah, because if you don't flow, you brace and you don't realize what's happening, and then you're like, because you didn't expect something, and you hurt yourself. So I just wanted to ask you, with the different systems you've seen, the Valenti brothers and what the Gracie Academy does, and like Pedro Sauer's one as well, they seem to be very similar. How have you found ways for yourself to learn and to teach in jiu-jitsu? Like, for first learning, in terms of, you learnt from obviously you learnt from Hickson and...
well, I started with all the brothers. When I first started with Horian, they're still in the garage. Mm-hmm. And then they just very early, when I started, they moved into the first Gracie Academy in Carson. And there, Hoyler, Hickson, Hoyce, even Elio, sometimes Holker, they were all there. And then, they're all alpha males. They all like to be the leader. And, they kind of went off their own direction. And Hickson opened up in Santa Monica. Hoyler went back to Brazil, to Omaita. Mm-hmm. Hoyce and Horion pretty much ran the academy. But they brought in some very talented help also. Fabio Santos was there teaching for a number of years. Lowell Anderson. When I first started, Craig Kukoc was there. It was like, he may be America's first black belt, at least legitimate Gracie black belt. All sorts of guys. There was Kaiki and Enrique. Kaiki was an amazing teacher. Showed me a lot of really, really good stuff. Later, they teamed up with Helson, but there was all these little infights and, it's hard for, like I say, alpha males just to kick back. And, But, so I went through and trained with all the brothers. And they all had, like, little different ways of doing the same basic ideas and little ways of teaching that were a little bit different. And but once again, Horan was a master teacher. There's no doubt. I think even his brothers would agree that he's probably the best in that domain. And even Elio Gracie was an amazing teacher. He didn't speak any English, but just through showing, it was always an amazing experience like that.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been awesome to know. Like, I remember you see his forearms, how big they were. But, Pedro
well, his jiu-jitsu certainly wasn't based in athleticism, size, or strength, or anything like that. But it's really interesting because, Elio never actually learned jiu-jitsu directly from the Japanese, Maeda. His brother, Carlos, did. He was Maeda's student. And Maeda wasn't the only Japanese teaching jiu-jitsu, or at that time, judo. It was like a kind of a new type of jiu-jitsu. And judo really lost its martial prowess right about when it became like an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
Part of it was, even after World War II, the Japanese were forbidden to practice martial arts by the occupying forces, part of the wartime agreement. Yep. So they practiced in secret, but they developed it more as a sport than they actually did as a martial art, more like a form of wrestling, actually. And meanwhile, in Brazil, it was kind of like in a little time capsule where they kept developing it as a combat martial art. In Japan, it went more and more sportive. And of course, now the same thing's happening to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's, they have a very structured point system now. Many holds and takedowns and throws, and techniques on the ground have been forbidden because of the injury factor. And now it's very sportive. And there's many people, even high-level guys, that do not know the basic self-defense. They don't. Even top black belt guys, they couldn't show you how to take a gun away from somebody. Or if someone had a knife to the throat, they wouldn't know what to do. But even every blue and purple belt in the Elio Gracie system, they know what to do. There has been an attempt recently by the Carlos Gracie side of the family.
Okay.
Originally they were together, and then, like all things, they kind of went their separate ways. Carson Gracie was like a really main influence on the Carlos Gracie side of the family. He had a bit of a falling out with Elio, kind of went his separate ways. They became very competitive with Elio and his guys, which continues to this day.
That was the Gracie Barra lineage.
Carson was an amazing fighter and practitioner, knew all the self-defense, but they started getting more and more into jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu and getting more and more specific. Most of the stuff that you use to fight another jiu-jitsu guy in class is totally useless. You don't... it's just totally unrealistic, man. And MMA isn't the answer either, because that's two guys, same weight, wearing gloves,
time limits,
and time limits with a referee, and you go to the ground and there's no action. They bring you to your feet, I mean, it's okay. Don't get me wrong. Any MMA champ is going to be able to defend himself, right? But once again, you got these genetically superior combat athletes who are professionals. Of course, you take any NFL football player, who's gonna fight that guy, right?
Well, there was one of the UFC guys, vegetarian, Jake Shields, got into the protesters were getting violent. One of those protesters, and he ended up
in California. This one?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean he's a California guy. He lives in San Francisco.
I heard on Rogan. I'm not sure who was talking about, but yeah, it was.
But there was a
lot of violence going on.
A little dust up, wasn't
it? Yeah, but just part of the protests.
But my point is that you can't depend on striking if you're not a big guy, if you're not particularly athletic.
Exactly.
But you can save your life with jiu-jitsu. You can make it really hard for a guy to get a good shot on you, a good hit. For sure, if you're little, you clinch up. For sure, you're going to fall on the ground at some point, and you can defend yourself really well, even against a monster guy on the ground. You might not be able to beat him up. You're not going to win the fight or whatever, but you can keep him from beating you up. And that's a huge difference. Survival.
You got to stay alive no matter what. But it's all about the distance management. From the striking, you either got to be out of the range or inside the range.
Inside the range.
So it's like.
But against a really good boxer, I mean, obviously he's going to be in range, so you got to clinch him up, just to save yourself from being struck and hit.
Well, yeah. Look, I found even with me rolling with one arm, I could still defend myself if I'm not. Well, if I go to attack, then I'm going to get thrown up. Well, we got a strong one of the Australian representative for World's Strongest Man in our gym.
Whoa!
So he's a massive guy, and
that's a massive guy.
I was rolling with him. He's holding me down, my arms. I'm like, well, my arms aren't mine now, so I have to relax them. Otherwise, they're just going to stress. So I just relax, but use my legs. And in the guard, I was, I've rolled with him once, but I was safe in the guard. Until I went to try and choke. And that strength.
He couldn't hit you as long as he's holding you.
That's right.
In order to hit you, he had to at least go one hand, but you got your other hand to block. You had your knees, your feet. And of course, he has to get distance, which gives you distance to get those deadly up kicks, which are illegal in MMA.
That's right.
They're illegal in...
they're illegal for a reason.
It's incredibly dangerous. You're going to break something, man. So,
But, it's just good to feel that, okay, this actually does work.
Massively strong, But, he couldn't do anything to you.
Yeah, so until I, tried to attack him, and then it's he got me in some weird leg. I was, trying to pass this guy. He had me in a scissor lock on his legs, and he went to... So he was facing this way, and he was going to, I had my neck there, and he was going to do that. And I tapped it, and he stopped straight away, but it's like... Yeah, like a mountain, like his friends with the mountain. How strong those guys are.
But once again, 1 in a million, right?
Yeah.
World's strongest man.
Probably more than 1 in 20 million.
You go across all of Australia, he would be like the 99.99999 percentile for, And in nature, of course, bigger, stronger, faster works.
All right, cool. Just with regards to movement patterns, to maintaining longevity, health, and not being stagnant, what would you say, just a general message for what are good movement patterns for daily life? Like, I'm biased, I would say your mobility series, the 5-minute mobility series is really good. One part of the body every day, 5 minutes is...
Or you could do it all every day.
Yeah,
I mean,
40,
my age
40
now,
minutes or something.
I spend time doing mobility almost every day. The difference between mobility and flexibility is an important thing. Mobility means being able to move your limbs through full range of motion with strength. There's a strength component to mobility, whereas with flexibility, it's more passive and no movement. The other thing is just monitoring your sitting. Just don't. The main reason people lose the ability to move is they don't move.
Yes.
So even if you just get out and walk every day, that's a huge step in the right direction. Just go out and walk 30 minutes every single day. But you know how many people don't do that? Massive, millions of people.
Yeah, most.
You know, but, you know, that's not too much to ask. And then monitor your sitting. Try not to sit in chairs. Like right now, I'm sitting at the interview, but I'm crossing my legs, so I'm opening my hips. My back is cushioned, so I can lean back. You know, you get this kyphosis and forward head. Kyphosis is where the upper back begins to round, and you get your posture skewed. So I'm always monitoring my posture, always doing assessments, being careful. Just being aware of this is like a huge step. And, you know, just doing simple things like getting up and down off the floor, squatting every day. A lot of people cannot squat. I taught the seminar this weekend. You filmed it.
Yeah.
Wasn't it amazing how many people, they were young, that could not squat, like a little kid would squat, because they don't squat. And that's a really important hip mobility exercise, you know, the ability to squat, especially if you ever go to China, man. You know, they have those toilets.
You gotta squat on them.
Westerners are going to be out of luck, man.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to, they don't have commodes like we do, man. But, yeah, I mean, this is just a simple, if you just did simple exercises, for example, a very popular exercise is the get up with the kettlebell.
Yep.
If you think about it, that's a great reset exercise, man. That really, really works mobility from many different angles, plus core stability, shoulder stability. That's a really, really good thing for people to do just as like a basic reset.
Yeah.
Other things you can do to keep mobile, it's just you kind of mirror the movements of a young child. I try to crawl almost every day.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like when we're children, they move exactly how we should be moving.
Exactly.
And then we teach them how to sit in chairs.
How to sit in chairs.
How to concentrate and how to sit in front of the TV. Just sit.
Playing the video games.
And then we
PlayStation.
worry that they're not outside playing.
And so, you know, it's important to, I think, you know, getting out of the chair, sitting on the floor or laying on the floor. A lot of people really have trouble getting up and down off the floor as they get older. I mean, think of your mom or your dad, maybe, for the people listening out there, or, you know, think of your grandmother and grandfather. You know, a lot of these oldsters can't even get up and down. I don't think my mother could. I don't believe it. My dad probably couldn't either, man. You know, that's just what happens as a result of not doing it. So you got to do stuff like that every day. That's one of the ways that jiu-jitsu can keep you pretty young, because you got to move in every possible direction. You know, and of course, you know, the drill standing up in base, just how an infant stands up off the floor. So including these movements, and it doesn't have to be hours, just a few minutes, or just every now and again when you're thinking about it, you're in the living room, get down, you know, rock around, roll over back and forth, get up and down off the floor a couple times. It's not hard to put it into your daily life. You just got to understand the importance of it. And you got to make yourself do it. That's where the discipline comes in.
Yeah, well, like if you got discipline to brush your teeth every day, why can't you just do a 5-minute workworkout?
Most people shower,
like
brush their teeth, you know. So I mean, if you can do that.
Well, it's even things like the shower. Use the brush as a brush routine, like you know, to dry yourself, and like use that as a workout.
Man.
You know, it's
a
just
good vigorous towel rub.
So I like
cold showers. I mean, these are all ways to preserve your youth, your vitality. Keep your brown fat and your metabolism stoked up, and keep your skin really healthy and glowing. Yeah.
Now, like you've said sometimes about the sort of medium distance running, in terms of rather than sprinting or long distance slow running, that you have sort of issues with the high intensity longer distance rather than the short, sharp, fast anaerobic.
Well, a lot of the runners that you see out there are using upper lobes of their lungs, which puts them in a panic state. So they're basically becoming over-adrenalized, literally almost in a panic. It causes a lot of stress on the body and damage that's unnecessary. I hear them out there. when they're breathing. It's really dysfunctional.
So it's more the breathing rather than the activity?
It's more the breathing.
Okay.
But even that medium-paced aerobics, if it's done more than just, like 20 minutes or so, you're not running for health. You're really eating up your muscles and doing a lot of oxidative stress and damage to the body over time. I'm more in favor of like longer, slower Zen running, like our ancient ancestors did. You never saw a paleo man out there running, in the aerobic zone. Well, that was all part of, when running became like a sport where people could compete.
Yeah, well, like you see with persistence hunters, like in some of the tribal cultures, they're just running all day.
Just in that little lope.
It's just a natural.
And a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Walking, jogging. So we're made more for long distance walking, jogging, jogging, then walking, jogging, then walking.
So something I found when I was doing triathlons and coaching was even doing a 10K run. I would run for 8 minutes at slightly higher pace, but then do a 2-minute walk, almost like a fartlek training. So it's like a 10K run. So do a fartlek, take 45 minutes, but you're actually recovering in the middle of the run. And not sure if that was right, but that's the strategy I was using at the time. And I was sort of tested out with times with the limited training at that time for that event.
Well, it's a pretty time-honored system of doing it. But the other end of it is sprinting, like running, like you would run for your life, really high intensity. There's been a lot of research on sprint protocols as youthifying. Has a rather interesting effect on the hormonal profiles, growth hormone and testosterone and so forth for older guys. So you can keep your body really healthy. I'm an advocate of sprinting. I try to sprint at least once a week. You don't need much. In fact, the latest research shows that 3 20-second sprints with 2-minute rest in between is just about all you need. I have other protocols.
For the week, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And then walking or doing some light jogging every day.
Yeah.
And you can keep yourself. So none of this stuff is really time expensive. People always say, I don't have time, I don't know. Sure you do. You have 20 minutes to go out. And you don't have to do it all at once.
And you don't have to go buy all the
You can do
equipment.
10 minutes in the morning, take a little lunchtime walk, maybe have walk either before or after dinner or
walk
before bed. Try to get some stairs. You can fit it in. Just use a fitness tracker, and right now I have 8,892. I got to get my butt out there and get the other 1,200 steps.
Yeah, no, right. All right, that's cool. So with your own injuries, how have you come up with, obviously again with your own system, like what have you learned through your injuries? Like I think you were talking about your back one where you nearly had to go for surgery, where you got it rolfed. Yeah,
I've done some really stupid things. I was actually doing the abdominal wheel from the feet, Jackie Chan style. Went a little bit too deep into fatigue. That can be a really dangerous exercise if you let your back kink. A lot of things that people do, like some of this stunts and tricks, like these urban gymnastics things.
Yeah. The
bar muscle ups, ring muscle ups. I mean, gymnasts are some of the most injured people anyway. Now they're trying to emulate gymnasts in their training. And it's all just about showing off and, look at me, which is fine. But these younger guys have to understand it's unsustainable, man. Yeah. Your elbows and shoulders can only take so much stress over a lifetime. And a lot of these guys are just working out constantly with this. And many of them are very young and already in pain. So one of the things I learned through my own mistakes and injuries, don't overtrain. A little bit, just because a little is good doesn't mean a lot is better. And a small amount of really hard training is all that's necessary. So, overtraining is a big no-no. Don't do silly stunts and dangerous things. I used to be really big into kettlebell snatches. I don't know why people think the snatch is the be-all, end-all. In reality, doing kettlebell snatches makes you good at doing kettlebell snatches. I saw no carryover value, really, in doing the snatch to any other activity. Swings, that's a different matter. You're using your hinge, you're using your glutes and your lower back. Kettlebell swings do have use and can be a great cardio tool, but taking it from the swing overhead in the snatch, there's no real benefit to that. You're just going to damage your wrist, your elbows, your shoulders, overuse.
Yep.
And people say, oh, yeah, but, I've been doing it for a while and I like it. Well, fine. But as soon as you start to feel like things going on in there, you better back off. Think of it this way. You've heard of tennis elbow. You're just swinging a tennis racket. It's what? It's a couple ounces in weight, right? A couple hundred grams. People get swimmer's shoulder. You're just pushing water. How about golf? Like Tiger Woods, swinging the these guys get terrible back problems, mostly from just rotating one side, right?
And not the other.
So if a golf club, tennis racket, just pushing water can cause overuse injury. What do these guys think is going to happen when you're continually snatching a 24, a 28, or 32 kilogram kettlebell for really high sets and high reps? A lot. They don't think they're going to suffer. They think they're immune to overuse, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, I can tell you right now, you're not. There may be some phenom out there that has an extra tough body that seemingly can get away with it. But even those guys are at some point going to pay the piper. You can't do stuff like that with momentum and throwing the weight. Olympic barbell lifts being used to train athletes is another pet peeve. It's just a good way to get hurt. You get good at doing the Olympic barbell lifts, but the transfer is pretty minimal. I mean, okay, yes, you get stronger, but it's the strength that makes you better at your sport, not necessarily doing that particular lift. My point is there's like a dozen other exercises way safer, just every bit as productive, but safer. And it doesn't give you the overuse injuries in your shoulders and your hips. And, of course, you get all that shearing force in the spine. So,
Okay.
But as a kid, I did it too. But now I'm telling you kids out there.
It's part of the ego we have.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
So just like one final thing, like your nomad lifestyle is an inspiration to me and others. Just could you discuss the process of your awakening just in terms of living the materialistic life with the bluestone, what do they call the brownstone house? And you got all the shoes and all the stuff, the gym, the house, everything. From that to you're living through your backpack.
Well, in the 50s and 60s, as a kid, I had a pretty minimalist lifestyle. My parents were frugal. And, in my closet, I had like maybe 3 shirts and 3 pair of pants at most. And maybe during the summer, a couple T-shirts and shorts. You wore the same damn thing just about every day. And your mom would wash it. Maybe you'd have like something you swap out with, right? 2 pair of shoes. You had your gym shoes. You had your good shoes for church and school. Yeah. That was it, man. Nothing else. You had one coat, a winter coat, maybe a light jacket for spring. But, I mean, you didn't have, in those days you weren't like a clothes horse. So I kind of grew up with that simplicity mentality. I was very happy. And as a physical education major, we wore uniforms. So I didn't even need to dress for PE. You actually wore a physical education uniform. It was almost like being in the military. We even had hair rolls and everything, man. So once I got out of school, I maintained that minimal idea. I used to have this rule that if I couldn't pack up my belongings and put in my car in less than 20 minutes. In other words, all my belongings had to fit in the car. And if I couldn't do it in 20 minutes, I had too much stuff. I lived like that for years. I even lived in an Indian teepee.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of went through my like a little hippie stage there for a while. I had the beard and the hair. And
it's a good stage.
Rode a bike, got rid of my car. So minimalism wasn't new to me. But once I got married in Philadelphia, my ex-wife and I created like a little empire. I always wanted my own gym. And I had my dream gym called Maxwell. First jiu-jitsu school on the eastern seaboard of the U.S. It was the first Gracie Academy in the United States. It was the first place where there was group kettlebell classes held. Before anybody else was doing it, I was teaching group kettlebell classes as a group. I really mastered the idea of these classes. But I mean,
Way before your time. Look now, jiu-jitsu kettlebells everywhere.
So, you know, we bought a house, had a couple kids, you know, and you know, I had my own private garage within the house, 4 stories, beautiful brownstone brick facing, you know, room full of furniture, all the accumulation, and it really didn't enhance my life one damn bit. You know, I started accumulating, you know, clothes and shoes. I think I had like at one point 21 different track suits and outfits with matching shoes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was pretty miserable in that situation. I wasn't really cut out to be a family guy and a family man. Pretty lousy father, I think, probably. You know, I let the kids get away with murder. And I just realized, wow, I'm just working like a freaking dog to own all this stuff, and the stuff is owning me. You know, I couldn't even go on vacation, you know, for fear of losing clients or, you know what I mean? And who's going to run the school or work the people out when I'm gone? You know, so there was a crisis because, you know, you just can't sustain that type of intensity with your work. And working with your significant other, we both owned the gym together. It was brutal. You know, you're with each other all the time. You know, so divorce.
Yeah.
Did it. That's what the awakening was.
Okay.
I was aware of a lot of these things, but I just wasn't practicing. And that's when I really got into meditation, higher mind science. I had been working with it all along, but I got super serious once I got divorced. I moved in a little camper van. I lived in a camper van for 3 years after the divorce, drove across the U.S. 8 times. And then I downsized even more. I started traveling so much, I sold the camper van and came down to like a 40-liter pack where all my belongings in a little carry-on. And that was it, man. And I went back to my roots and never felt better about it. You know, I just felt like a weight was lifted off me. So one of the ways, if a person would be attracted to this type of lifestyle, it's not for everyone. No. I'm not saying that you have to get rid of everything. No,
but it's like, do I need 5 tailor-made suits?
Exactly, man.
You know, it's like
just get rid of all the stuff you don't use.
Just take control.
You know, give away all the clothes that you don't wear.
That's it.
And just weed things out and just stop buying so much stuff. You know? And if you do want to become a nomad and not even own a home and just love the traveling, roving life, the gypsy lifestyle, you need a freedom business. You know, you need to find a way that you can make money online. Yeah. Now, a lot of people have tech jobs. They already are making money online. Yeah. So, hey, I'd say just get rid of everything you own. Just keep a couple of nice things and just take off, man. Start doing what I do. Travel from place to place. Yeah. And for me...
Not for everyone, but...
No, it's not for everyone.
You don't have to be like that to get the lessons out of it.
No, you do not.
I've
and you can
changed my life just from that lesson. It's like, okay, well, I don't need all this stuff. But... at the end, on the other side, I've come to terms with, okay, well, I'm going to have some stuff, but I don't need all of it. Whatever I use, I'll get, and whatever I don't need, I'll get rid of. You know.
Yeah, I mean, people are so wasted, you know, now in nature, right? If we were like ancient man or whatever, and you and I would go fishing, right? We would catch enough fish to eat. We wouldn't catch like 20 fish
and put them in the fridge
and just throw them and just leave them rot. But that's what happens. Right? People waste. They're wasteful. It corrupts you. Yeah. So, and also being a minimalist does not mean I suffer or I don't have quality things. Yeah. No. I live a very good lifestyle. You know, I try to fly business class. You know, I have some pretty long flights. You know, I stay in really nice places like this, like little hotel apartment or a nice Airbnb. You know, I don't stay in crappy places. I'm not going to like some kid's backpacker hut. You know. I have the things I have are very nice. Yeah. So it doesn't mean
the freedom will be
right. It doesn't mean that you
become homeless.
Become like a bum or you know you like that. No, you can live you can actually have all the bourgeois comforts. Yeah. You know, as a minimalist. So that's a mistake that some people make. It's a misconception that you suffer. No, not at all, man. Man, I eat great. I sleep in beautiful places all over the world. You know.
Perfect.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
All right. So
thanks, mate.
Thanks for the.
I'm honored to be on your first podcast.
Thank you.
And
it's been a pleasure. Thanks for all that.
The website is maxwellsc.com. maxwellsc.com.
I'll put links to all that up.
Like my Facebook page, Steve Maxwell. My Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Snapchat, always putting up videos.
Yeah.
A lot of free exercise advice. You know?
There's a lot of good stuff out there.
I'm doing seminars all over the world in jiu-jitsu, self-defense, how to condition yourself for jiu-jitsu, anti-aging, joint mobility, still teach kettlebells and body weight training, but in a safe manner that won't get you hurt. So.
And for everyone.
And for everyone. Any age.
Any age.
Whether you're
body type.
4 or 40 or 6 or 60.
All right, mate. All right, thanks.
Awesome.
That's awesome. All right, great.
Cool.
Thanks. Okay, that was my interview with Steve Maxwell. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, so I hope you guys picked up just a few new concepts or ideas that you may not have considered before. I've always learned a lot from listening to Steve at his seminars and just interviews and just talking to him. Yeah, you can learn quite a lot from him. So it was an honour to be able to interview him. So make sure you follow him on his social media. The links will be on the description below. And if you liked the podcast, please subscribe, like, share, all of that. Follow me on my social media. They'll all be in the links below as well, my website and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to have a lot more content coming out fairly soon. So I've got a couple more interviews that I've already done. So they're going to come out very shortly. And hopefully I'll have a lot more interesting sort of podcasts to put out there. I'm going to try to do something different next time. So we'll see how that goes. So this will be on YouTube as well as the audio podcast. So be sure to check it out. And thanks for listening, watching, and thanks a lot. And have a good day. Cheers. Bye.